Welcome to episode number 12 of the Benchwarmers Perspective. Today I am here with Brian Mahan, former Whitehall soccer coach, and you taught at Whitehall as well, correct?
Yeah.
What did you teach at Whitehall?
Science geeky stuff. Towards the end, I moved around to lower levels to help, but like anatomy and physiology, AP environmental science.
Yep.
And basically over my 29 years, I taught every single science class except AP chemistry because chemistry is evil and wrong and no one should ever have to learn it.
What is that?
I didn't like organic or inorganic chemistry, so I always said that, which always really annoyed our very good chemistry teachers because they're like, it's not evil. I'm like,
I always like blowing stuff up, and that's what chemistry is.
yeah. So but only if it's intentional. The unintentional is when it gets to be a problem. Those explosions are bad. So no, science stuff, I just, lots of excuses to be outside and do experiments and all that jazz.
Yeah. So this is the SportsNet podcast, so we'll try and keep it. We'll talk about whatever. I mean, we had Zach Zweigel on a few weeks ago, and we talked about
I watched that. I watched that. Yeah.
But one of the things that one of the reasons I asked is your tenure as Whitehall soccer coach for a long time. How long did you coach for them?
So I coached the boys for 29 from 94 until 2 years ago. It started out as co-ed. So when I got here, it was co-ed, 94, 95. I got the boys program separate, and we, parents, and fought to get the girls program, which started in 97. And I did that for 11 years. For those two, I mean, I was a varsity volleyball coach. I did varsity track. It's, you're a teacher, you're a coach, you kind of end up at stuff.
Yeah.
But for soccer, those 29 for the boys and 11 for the girls, the first 11.
So how did you kind of get started coaching that? Like, were you approached? Did they say, hey, we have a position, we need somebody?
So, I got injured in college, blew up my knee. So stopped playing. They had me around, doing the rehab, the injured college athlete thing.
Yeah.
I was like a manager. Then I became kind of like an assistant coach, and I enjoyed that. My father was heavy into the ASO program, and not everyone not from here understands American Youth Soccer Association. It was the start of all. So he organized it, coached. So I was coaching little kids through high school.
Yep.
But just for fun, weekend stuff, cool. Yeah. Got a little more serious after my injury in college at the Holland Rec programs. But again, a little more serious, meaning they're paying us to show up on Saturdays and coach. Graduated from Hope. Was going back to Western to get my teacher certificate. I was approached by Plainwell schools. Said, hey, we have some coaching positions, JV boys. You want to start? I'm like, well, so I jumped right into that and loved every part of it, and then I'm doing JV girls and moving up to varsity. And so the varsity girls in Plainwell were very good. Like, we finished the third in the state twice, and I finished my teaching certificate, and I was throwing out resumes anywhere that had a soccer program and a science position. Yeah. Like, who's going to pay me is where I was going. And Art Plefka, actually, who's, still around, still everywhere, called me out of the blue. I had no idea who this guy was. Says, Whitehall, we're looking for soccer. And I'm like, who? Talked to me for a couple hours. I had applied here because my grandparents lived here. My aunt and uncle lived here. I just visited here in the summer. It was just relatives' place. And I had applied and I interviewed, and the interview for the teaching position did not go well. I'm a little wild and crazy for what they were here. And I was told this later. I'm like, oh, great, you set me up for that.
Yeah.
But they really needed a soccer coach. And John Heisinger, who was the AD at the time, said, listen, we have plenty of football coaches, because I was going up against another football coach, which is neither here nor there. Then we have plenty of those. You don't bring someone in here for soccer, the parents are going to go nuclear. Yeah. So they were the first ones to offer me a job. And that's exactly how I ended up here, because I said I needed money in a bad way. Yeah. I said, who's got insurance and a paycheck? And they offered it to me first, and I came here, and I moved in on a Sunday in August, and that Monday I started conditioning.
Yeah.
And people just showed up, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, all you can do is run then. So I couldn't see anything. And it started from there, and it was a co-ed team. And I thought that because Plainwell was really good, it was good because of me. Ha! And then you realize very quickly that you need horses to be good.
Yeah.
And I had this really intricate first day practice plan, like down to the minute. And anybody who ever played for me will tell you, it was always planned. Like, we're doing this drill for 8 minutes, you know, da-da-da-da-da. I said, well, let's just see what we have. Everybody just get a ball. I want you to dribble, take a lap. I mean, there were kids kicking the ball like 40 yards in front of them, tripping over the ball. There were a few dribbling, and I'm looking, going, I just threw out the practice plan. I'm like, okay, this is a soccer ball. We're going to start here, and we're just going to build up. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up here. It was just simply, they offered me a job in a position that I wanted. We got biology.
Yeah.
Biology 1, biology 2. I'm like, I'm on that.
Yeah.
Like, this will be perfect.
So speaking of you mentioned your practice plan. How did that evolve as you went through and as you grew the program? I mean,
so at the beginning, it was just so much skill work. So all of the teams that I played on through all the different levels, everything, the Kalamazoo area and Michigan was all Dutch stuff. Like, this is super geeky soccer crap. Like Vale Corver, all of these foot development drills, specific types of passing, game style. So from all of these great coaches that I had like, oh, this was a great drill. This was a great drill. This was a great drill. What I had to realize is like, okay, we're starting here. Like, I need everybody to be able to just, you know, I don't know when you played, if you called it happy feet or whatever.
Yeah.
I need everyone to just be able to do, like, we're going to start here.
Yeah.
And we're going to build it up, and we're going to break this down. We used to have, in those first few years, we practiced over at Shoreline and field is such a stretch. It was clumps of grass around sand. So even like us passing a ball between each other, it would have hit a clump and gone right or left.
Yeah.
But we used to just have 2 lines where you just pass back and forth. And in order to get a drink, I remember the first day, let's do 20 passes in a row and then we'll get a drink. Well, after about 5 minutes, I'm like, can we connect like 5?
Yeah.
So we struggled. So it was just what are the basic skills? There were always a few people that really had it.
Yeah.
But the majority, great attitudes, wanted to learn, wanted to go fast, but they just didn't. So it was just basic. So at the beginning, it was 3/4 basics from how to pass, how to like cross a ball, how to just dribble, how to shoot. And then 1/4 was very small, like crossing drills and things like that. I've never scrimmaged much in my 32 years of coaching total.
Yeah.
Because it's 1 ball and 22 people.
Yeah.
The most I would do 6-on-6, but very seldom. Lots of 3-on-3, 4-on-4, lots of
small
ball.
Stuff.
But I couldn't even do that at the beginning because they didn't even get the movement. So it was a lot of stop. Okay, where should you go? How do you do this?
Yeah.
Where do you move
How do you
here?
move? How do you fill space? Keep
and
feet?
It was they came in without this background knowledge, and the evolution over the years was, as the Whitehall soccer community bought into what I was doing, they started to see some results, and the parents bought into it.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, I had more and more kids showing up as freshmen who knew a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So then for the varsity, I could evolve it. And I was lucky to have incredible JV coaches that I'm like, I want you to do these things. I don't care if you win a game.
Yeah.
I need the kids to be able to do this. And they did it. They ran the same drills, same philosophy, same, we don't care about wins and losses. We care about effort. We care about improvement, blah, blah, blah. And Art Plefka and Matt Cayley and Jameson Vanderleest and McCart, all the way through all these. Kirk Michelson was for a while, Emmett Michelson. They always bought into the whole program. So even if the kid wasn't ready, they were taught the stuff that I wanted them to know. So then it evolved. And when we had the big full teams where, sometimes my second 10 was as strong or equal to the starting 10. Like it was brutal. I was subbing like a hockey line.
Yeah.
Then those became super intense. And then those went from always skill. First 45 minutes, every player for the last however many years is going to tell you the exact same thing. Corver drills, passing warm up, situational stuff, movement, keep away, a target, da-da-da-da. But then we would start doing competition drills because our practices were harder than games.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
And it worked, and the guys bought into it. And it made my life easy because so how we would divide up to do our favorite game was this 2v2 transition, which is like a king of the court basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
Two come out, and if you shoot it over, if you score, there's a new team on that side, you get to stay, da-da-da.
Yeah.
But how we picked teams was, instead of having a captain picking teams, we would walk out and I'd say, okay, I want to beat you.
Yeah.
And then you go to that side and I back up. And they would come up with their own team names.
Yeah.
Which I will not say because I would have to censure a lot. Like, nope, that cannot be a team name. You're not yelling that at practice. Like, let's try to keep it. And they would come up with little sly things. I'm like, I still know what that is, but I'll give you that. And they would keep track through the year.
Yeah.
Like it's 9-9 or it's 10-9 or it's and it would be all year. Once those teams were made at the beginning of the year, unless there were big injuries.
Yeah.
And like when we'd bring up JV kids or something, then it was a draft. No, you got the last one. We get this one. And so they had their identity as those, and the competition was. Sometimes I had to not run drills because we'd just they'd be beating each other up. I'm like, you guys need to stop.
Yeah.
Just relax.
So how important is that competition in developing a team? I mean, for me growing up, I mean, if you can ask almost anybody I do anything with, I love to compete and I'm ultra competitive. I want to win, and I'll do pretty much anything to win as long as it's not dirty or something. But how important is that to developing a team?
So I employed some good old fashioned Army mental training. So at the beginning of the season, and this is the same forever, and it worked a lot. Very lucky because it worked a lot. I would set myself up as your competition.
Yeah. You
had to perform at a specific level, and it was a level of intensity, not a level of skill. Like you could make 1,000 mistakes. Like over the past 10 years, I was always like, fail forward, make a mistake, but don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
So I would just be on them, and I was just aggressive, and they would hate me, and I knew it, but this was the whole idea. But then we would be doing drills. We had a crossing drill.
Yeah.
This was a good old 3-man weave basketball crossing drill that my high school coach taught us. And then we did it in college. Amazing. Did it for 5 minutes. And whatever day, so day 1, if you scored 7 goals, okay, day 1. Day 2, you had to score 8.
Yeah.
And then 9. And if they didn't, it was either double or nothing. Or if you didn't get to that, like if you only scored 3, then you had to run 4 sprints. And I would make them run, or I'd double her. And they were it's brutal because you're sprinting back. And I was the enemy of that.
Yeah.
Simply because I was the timekeeper.
Yeah.
So then they learned how to fight together. And then you would see them like, come on, let's go. Then they're building each other up and they're coming together against me.
Yeah.
Great. Like it worked so often. The kids that didn't like it, well, it just didn't work. And the teams that it didn't work were always struggled. But those teams where in 5 minutes we'd be scoring 26 or 27 goals and our goalies were good.
Yeah.
But they were rapid fire. The guys were sprinting. And then beginning of the year in the games, I was always about just intensity. I mean, I don't know how many games you were playing. So it's like, going against, but I was really hard at the beginning, but by the end of the year, they realized, and so I could just like, hey, go here, do this, do this, do this. So but their competition against me Then it became, and when you divided it up, they understood the spots where it was, now it's against this team.
Yeah.
And this is my group that I'm now protecting.
At this moment, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Park Place Sports. Want to support your local athletics program? Look no further than Park Place Sports. As a leader in banner and sponsorship program for athletes, they provide top-notch services to help your team shine. Visit their Facebook page, Park Place Sports, LLC, and see how they can elevate your athletic program today. Park Place Sports, your partner in athletic excellence.
And it really worked. It's how I was raised with the real good coaches did that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then using it, there were times that, I had to dial it back.
Yeah.
There were times I didn't dial it back that I should have.
Yeah.
like later on, you're like, oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
But it worked a lot. And that competition is everything. There was a span of, we didn't lose a conference game for like 7 years.
Yeah. Well,
So if we weren't beating each other up at practice, like if we based it on our scores against the teams, we would have died in the tournaments.
Yeah.
Because we had to go and play these teams that, the Grand Rapids South Christian and Grand Rapids, all those schools, you have to be on, they don't make mistakes.
No, they don't.
And they're ultra competitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the most competitive teams always did really well.
Yeah. And I think something that, like you had mentioned with that competitiveness, what you found is that the teams that struggled with it didn't end up being as successful. And I think that what you see there is that the kids who were struggling with it weren't really bought in. They didn't really they wanted to be there in everything but action, right?
Yeah. So in this area, actually most teams, everybody has the same. Well, let me rephrase this. When we were doing our best, like that 2004 to 2018, where we had like the big groups, everybody has the same 5 to 8 kids.
Yeah.
The diehard soccer player, we'd go to play wherever we went. Everybody has
breakers and stuff like that.
No, but I'm talking back in those days before breakers. So they were traveling to do stuff, but everyone had those kids. Mm-hmm. But the difference is, so what are the next 10 kids?
Yeah. How deep are you in
like Daniel Du Bois.
Yeah.
One of the top 5 players in Whitehall ever. Never played a travel game in his life, but one of the most intuitive athletes I ever coached. He was part of that next group of 10 or 12 or whatever, because that group is the difference between a team that's just there and a team that when I'm subbing, that next group of 6 are maybe a half a step below the person that started.
Yeah.
And so your level never drops. So that intensity, that, they weren't necessarily like true soccer players in a this is all I do sense.
Yeah.
But they were such amazing athletes that if you just gave them the direction and and that was the difference. When we were running, there was a time, so 11, 12, and 13, I had 2 teams. The second team was as good as the starting lineup. And I would tell the starters in games, like, you have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You better score as much as you can in 10 minutes, because after that, and I put this next group in, we're going to be up by 6.
Yeah.
And then none of the forwards are playing forwards. Any of you that are starters in that position, you're not allowed to score. I had really weird rules.
Yeah.
You could never score more than 3 in a game. Mm-hmm. If we were up.
Yeah.
Daniel Du Bois finished with 69 goals. If it weren't for my rules, he could have had 100 plus even, but everybody else needs a chance.
Yeah.
Once we're up by 5 and you're a starter in the forward, you don't score. Your job is to pass to somebody who's now up there who doesn't get the opportunities you do. So, but this second group, they were just brutal.
Yeah.
They were incredibly talented. That group with the Fergusons and Dalton Grimm and Vanderleest and McCarthy and all that were incredible. But the group behind them with Emmett Michelson and Ray Copley and Chris Saunders and Nick Rands, they were just as good. But they only had 1 year in the spotlight.
Yeah.
because they were 1 year behind. They were the best team I ever coached, not the best talent.
Yeah.
But they had this chemistry
Yeah.
that I didn't have to do. Like the beginning of the year with them, it was already done. Like they played all the way through. They played just good old travel ball together as a group and came all the way up, and they all played together. And it was like, oh, okay, I just need to put you in the right spot and get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So a question I have for you is, especially in soccer, I think maybe just in the U.S. in general, the youth programs, how important is that to creating that, like how like in basketball, right? For around this area, you have Mona Shores League where you get 12 sixth graders and they go play in sixth grade. I don't see that as much in soccer except for with like breakers, or I don't see school sponsored youth leagues. How do you do that?
So the part of the issue is here, we're just now in this part of Michigan, we're just now getting to the point where the parents came through systems. When I moved here, Kalamazoo was about 10 to 15 years ahead of this area.
Yeah.
Except for West Michigan Christian, who we would beat. I didn't think they were much. And then I moved here. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like,
yeah.
That now we have these kids that have gone, or parents that have gone through systems that can start training. So for basketball, everybody's been playing basketball for 100 years.
Yeah.
So if you step in and just step in as a dad volunteering, the likelihood is you probably played.
Yeah.
You played maybe freshman JV, you might have played varsity, but you know drills, you know the basic skills, etc. Soccer it's harder. So like right now, I'm the de facto, I'm the director of coaching for the Breakers.
Yeah.
In the fact that I just want to train the coaches on what to do.
Yeah.
So had all the coaches come up and I ran a practice with them and I had them do all the drills. And as they did it, I'm like, okay, did you feel yourself off balance? Well, that's because you actually need to have your weight here to make that move work.
Yeah.
But they're willing to do it. And a bunch of, like half the people that are at the thing were my ex-players.
Yeah.
So that's changing. In the United States and up, the youth program is so important, and it's lacking because we do so much with volunteers and keep it as a fun thing. You look at Europe.
Yeah.
By the time you're 8, you're in a club.
Yeah.
You're either doing nothing and playing it on the street, or you're in a club.
Yeah.
The bonus for us is if you want to be on a team in the United States, you can play pretty much any sport, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But now the only way you're going to work through a system is by then having the wherewithal. A lot of it's just money.
Yeah.
To be able to travel. Soccer, hockey, those are still sports.
Yeah.
Those are expensive sports.
Yep.
To be good at.
Yeah.
In the United States. There's a great book called How Soccer Explains the World. It's phenomenal. All these other countries, everybody plays soccer. You have to have money to play basketball, football, because you have to travel more. United States,
it's the opposite.
It's the exact opposite. So, why are we trailing behind? Well, because you want to really play at a high level of soccer, you need to have money to fly to Florida for this tournament, and Kansas City for this tournament, or be driving to Grand Rapids and Lansing and all of these things. And even just the drive, it's all the ability to be there and have it. So it's great. It's too bad that the regular old travel programs have taken a hit. The old the White Lake Youth Sports, just the regular rec teams.
Yeah.
Because those were super important, which is why it took me about 10 years of asking over and over again to get a middle school program at Whitehall.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they're like, no, we won't do it, but we don't see the need. We don't. I'm like, it's there. We need the kids to be able to pay $50 and play.
Yeah.
Because those are like I said, those are kids number 8 through 18 that make your team really good. Because now they have experience in middle school. This is the second year at Whitehall. Those kids who might not have played in high school because they had no experience.
Yeah.
Now they've had 2 years where they got to play with their friends.
Yeah.
They got some skill development. They're going to come into high school with some knowledge.
Yeah.
And even if you get half of them, your team's just going to be better because it's going to have one more kid that has the slightest idea what's going on. So that's a really long answer for a very short question.
No, I like it. Something that I kind of, while you're explaining it, going through that kind of a question that got brought up in my head that you had mentioned with, you can go and basically in the United States, you can go and do anything or do any sport. Do you think that in turn, in the long run, hurts the competitive nature of some of these sports? Because in Europe, you go and if you're good, you get pulled into a club. You're doing this. You're good, right? And if you're not, you know what you have to do to be that level. Whereas in the United States, it's just you go out and you play, right? Do you think that hurts the competitiveness or that drive at all?
Depends on what your goal is.
Yep.
So this is the current battle going on everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my kid needs to play this because they're going to go, they're going to play in college. And first off, there's no money in soccer.
Yeah.
There are 8 full scholarships at Michigan State. If you are the top 10 players, you're going to get half ride. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So when I first got to Whitehall, so this will be and make sure I answer this question correctly.
Yep.
When I first got to Whitehall, soccer was not looked upon favorably by the majority of people.
Yeah.
It's football. It's football first. And
I think that's kind of how it is.
You're taking away athletes from our sport. And I actually did. I looked at all the numbers for all the stuff. And I looked at, yes, there were some players on the soccer team that would have helped out the football team. But there were a lot of them that wouldn't have played football at all.
Yeah.
And in a public school, small town, it gets more kids out because you can find your niche.
Yeah.
And worry about the level of competition. Okay. But look at, with all the sports Whitehall has to offer, with all the sports Montague has to offer, you can find something to do.
Yeah.
Besides winter sports. Winter sports are hard because there aren't that many. You have to, wrestling, basketball.
Yeah.
But now we have bowling. Awesome.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone. I love that. I would be shocked if you ever found a player of mine where I said, no, I only want you playing soccer.
Yeah.
Do other stuff.
Yeah.
But one, it's better for the muscles, rest, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother 10-week podcast. But
yeah.
I don't think overall it brings down the level of competition because the kids that were still going to be good at football are going to be good at football.
Yep.
The kids that were going to be good at soccer are going to be good at soccer. Our whole system is why the United States doesn't do well in soccer yet. Like you talked about, the youth program working our way up.
Yeah.
The socioeconomic factors that influence that. We don't have the mass of people to draw from. I mean, somebody said, can you imagine if like LeBron James was a central defender?
Yeah.
You will not come into the defense ever. But he is where he loves and what he loves. And that's because of all the options. So yes, it might limit the competitiveness at the lower levels.
Yep.
But as kids, you're still going to, like the soccer team and the football team were both good, but coaching stability and stuff, both exceeding great teams. Yeah. There were times where the soccer team was up, football team was down, football team's up, soccer team's down, but still both of them, even during that time, were competitive. Yeah. So it's like, no, but then look, okay, what's cross country doing? Cross country's doing great. Yeah. Yeah. And I think you answered my question. Okay. And I think, sorry. No, you're good. I more what I was trying to get to was and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that being able to pick and choose what you want to do and have it basically be able to do that if you want to do that, not saying, oh, you're good at soccer, you're going to go to a club and you're going to do that is much better. I'd much rather have that. And I think I don't think it hurts the competitive nature. I think that
In fact, it should help in ways. Where what I was trying to get to is kind of, do you think the skill level is lower because we don't do that? Because we don't have the overall, like, hey, you're good at this, you're going to go do that, and you're going to focus on that? Or do you think that the fact that we're so diverse in what we're able to do helps us?
I think the answer to that is yes, for both.
Yeah.
The kids that want to go do it will go do that. And
Yeah.
the skill level is amazing.
Yeah.
My nieces are playing and traveling, and incredible skill level.
Yeah.
But they're really focusing on that.
Yeah.
But then in the same sense, I think we'll get a better pool of athletes and all by having more kids do it, because some kids develop later and they aren't at 8 years old. I mean, if you're in a club and you have to be good at 8,
Yeah.
I'm not one for focusing. One sport athletes. It's been a long-standing philosophy at Whitehall that don't play one sport, play multiple. I don't like the idea of playing 3 during the same season.
Yeah, no,
that's that's just injuries. But get out and experience more.
Yeah.
I mean, of all of the people that I have coached for all of the years, for everyone that I played with for all of those years, not a single one of them was a professional.
Yeah.
So my son Colin was a good player, and he was being asked to come try out for some teams, and we had a really great talk in middle school. I said, "Are you thinking about wanting to play college? Do you want to go play these travel teams? Because this will be kind of a step up. You're going to need to start practicing more. You're going to need to juggle at home." I said, "Is this what you want?" Or at the point he was playing with his friends here, I go, "Or would you rather play with your friends?" Because I did the other. I was playing on all these travel teams where, you get to know them. I didn't get to play with my friends until high school.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I just like playing with my friends." I'm like, "That's fine.
Yeah.
Then you do that."
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a job and you're not going to be a professional.
Yeah.
And college sports, people are like, "Oh, you want to play college?" That's an animal that I think people think is great, but there's a lot there. Are you just going to enjoy your sport?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that in high school, I was a 3-sport athlete for all of high school. I wasn't the best athlete. I'll give you that. Like I wasn't barely playing like I was playing basketball, but I was left bench. And I know that I'm okay with that. Like I knew what I needed to do to be on the court, right? I just didn't do it because for me, the relationships I was making there were more important. And I was okay with the skill level I was at the time. Now, did I want to play? I'm competitive. I wanted to play, but I knew that I wasn't good enough to play. And for me to get there, I wasn't really motivated to do the work to get there. And I understood the trade-offs there, but I think that the 3-sport athlete, that's almost a must. And if you aren't doing that, you're almost hurting yourself in a way.
Well, at least 2 and a break.
Yeah.
2 and a let your body recover.
Yeah.
But every sports trainer will tell you you're using different muscles.
Yeah.
And your different parts of your brain think
Yeah.
differently. Yes, it helps. Now, I mean, you look at like Cam Thompson at Whitehall, just a phenomenal basketball player. Anything he does, he's just going to be good at.
Yeah.
But a lot of times our single sport over the years, the people that focused on one had repetitive use injuries, and they weren't engaged in what the school was going on. So then, but they were traveling everywhere. So their skill level was amazing. So going back to their skill, because they had to choose to not do A, B, C, and D at school because I was doing A with my club to get to that
and
level.
That's like, I think that's what a lot of, at least around here, that idea of I'm going to go play college.
At this moment, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Chris Wank, Century 21 First Class Realty. Looking to sell or purchase a new home? Or perhaps invest in a plot of land? Chris Wank with Century 21 First Class Realty is your go-to expert. As a leader in West Michigan real estate, Chris brings unparalleled knowledge and dedication to every transaction. Don't wait. Call Chris Wank today at 616-414-5420 and take the first step towards your real estate dreams. Century 21 First Class Realty, your trusted partner in West Michigan property.
Central. That's great. For me in high school, it was always like college, Central. Am I going to go pro? Am I going to get paid for this? No. So I'm basically going for the experience. Is that worth it to me? Right. If I'm not going to go there and my goal isn't to become professional and to be making money, then by going there, I'm really going for the experience of being able to play. Right. And is that worth it to me? And I think that a lot of athletes want that experience, and I applaud them for that. But I also would say, make sure that you're not trading off all the little things in high school for that.
I did 3 sports. I was in musicals.
Yeah.
And tried to do all that. But then on the flip side of it, 2 years ago, right after COVID, 12 of us from the soccer team met in Grand Haven because a guy had flown in from Maine and people were in from Detroit. And we sat down and had a happy hour where we're all swapping, joint replacement stories and various things like that, because college sports is brutal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
your body,
my brother right now is playing at MCC, playing basketball, and he's telling me he lives with me, and every night he's coming home, he's like, man, Coach Gifford had us do this, this, and this. And I was like, that sucks.
It is, you're in a physical shape that is next level.
Yeah.
But there was, my freshman class at Hope, there were like 12 or 14 of us.
Yeah.
By our senior year, there were 5 left.
Yeah.
And I think more than half of us that weren't playing anymore was because of injuries.
Yeah.
But at a small school like Hope, there were guys that had to quit because they, the classes they needed for their major, for their real life, like, I can't play soccer because I need to be in a bio lab or something like that. But yeah, the injuries are, it's interesting.
And I want to clarify too that I admire anybody who's able to go play college sports. That's an achievement in and of itself. Like, the fact that you were able to go do that is awesome. And I would say, if you have the opportunity, that you should look at taking it. Like, look at being able to go and do that, because it's a great opportunity. But also, take a look at your other options. See, is it worth it?
So I was never big on pushing kids to play.
Yeah.
Some incredible talent. And how I would always state this is, you tell me the college that has the programs that you want to study. Yeah. And then I'll get a hold of the coach. Yeah. See if it's even a possibility. Yeah. Because like you need to make sure you have the real job idea in mind. Whatever training you want. Yeah.
The backup.
So that was mine. Yes. But I was like, you got to make sure you're utilizing your career for the education, which is the experience playing sports. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. That I have a text group with still the guys that I played with. Yeah. But then I also have a big group of guys that I hung out with and friends like that. So it ties all in there. I think, looking ahead to, do I want to play college? That's, just do what you need to do to be the best version of yourself on your team right now. Yeah. And if you are lucky enough physically and all of the, not getting injured, et cetera, to look at college, awesome. But people are missing, I think, the beauty of high school, United States high school sports.
I 100% agree, and that's kind of what I was getting to.
So when we went to, what year is this? Du Bois. So 16, we had a foreign exchange student. It was phenomenal. Mikkel. He was from Finland. Yep. He played club over there, and trying to remember what regular season game we had. We had a big crowd, and he came over to me and he said, I've never had fans, because he just played club. So you just you'd have a few parents, and you just played club. No tie to the city. There was a tie to the city, but not like what we have. We went up for the regional finals up in Cadillac. They had to like plow the field basically to get the snow off.
Yeah.
We won. He had, I think, a goal and an assist at the end. And the 2 buses of fans that had come from Whitehall stormed the field.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But he came over and said, I've never experienced anything like this. And this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
He goes, this is so much better from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But when he got back to Finland, he was now behind the skill development because he had experienced that here.
Yeah.
Going, again, way back to the question 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because then he hung out here and cross-country skied and just did fun. Like, it's like, I was just having a great time.
Yeah.
So that's why I said yes. Yes to both. Yes, it does this, but also yes, you kind of.
Yeah. And I think what you said is, I think a lot of these athletes, these really, really good athletes that are focusing on the one sport, tend to miss out a little bit on the high school, just because they're not when you're playing one sport. So let's say you're a really good wrestler, for example, and all you're doing is you're wrestling year round. That's your thing, and you're one season in high school with the team wrestling. That's basically your one season with high school. That's your the rest of the year. You're every weekend, every moment you have is wrestling, and you're out and about, and so you're not getting I'm gonna go run cross country, and I'm gonna go like meet these people, and I'm gonna hang out with these people, and then I'm gonna go wrestle and have fun there.
It's such an interesting perspective thing because for them, they're getting a phenomenal experience. In that.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the child, the family, et cetera, they're getting all of that experience because they're going to tournaments. One of the teams I played on, we would play international soccer tournaments. We'd play like the Scottish U15 team, which destroyed us. I don't even know what the score was, but I know they scored a lot and often. So I have these experiences from playing in that. Absolutely incredible. And then being a public school, just regular player, and then a coach. So your point is good from the perspective of experiencing everything.
Yeah.
But then for the people that really, really want to focus on that, they're getting what they think. I think that they're missing out. I think they're missing out on the experience that I enjoyed.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying.
So you're a social person.
Yeah.
I was a social. So I wanted to be at the pep rally. I wanted to be in the stands of whatever sport was going on. I wanted to be at the other sports where people were coming. So for that personality, there's nothing better than high school sports.
Yeah.
But for some people, I want to do this. I want this to be my job.
Yep.
I'm singularly focused, and whatever happens out of it, happens out of it. And
and that's completely okay. For me though, it was always like, I want to be involved. I want to be present. I want to be like, the team that I'm on is my team, right? Like we're there. Like these guys, I'll die for any of these guys, right? And and I think that's good. But I also do see the other side where, like going out, you're focusing on you, trying to make yourself better in whatever sport you're doing to be able to achieve your goals is also great.
Yeah. But you get that identity. So the funny part is the soccer team became its identity. And but it was also known for being the crazy ones in the stands of the football game, the basketball games. And to the point where when kids would get in trouble, teachers would start out by saying, well, you're a soccer player. I'm like, they play other sports.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just my fault.
Yeah.
But they carry that identity through.
Yeah.
And soccer players were all a little quirky. And we've been hitting the head with a ball a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you voluntarily
stick your head out at a ball. And soccer players, it's a different mentality because each player has to be in a like correlated, has to be a quarterback. Because when you touch the ball, you have to decide, am I going A, B, C, D. Am I dribbling? Am I moving? What's this? How do I move from here? So you have to have a mindset. So that's also when it went back to, we go back to our question before, it provides an outlet for those kids.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I think. I'm not 6'2", 250 ripped head to toe in muscle.
Yeah.
I'm a 5'8", 130-pound quick kid.
Yeah.
I can do soccer.
Yeah.
Because I can use that same mind without being throttled as I, try to take the ball around the end and have a linebacker just destroy me.
Yeah. And, honestly, I look at teams in the area now, and I think that's what Montague soccer specifically has kind of built itself on, is really, really athletic kids coming out and then developing those skills a little bit, and then being able to do that, being able to have that outlet. And then they just develop this gritty. I mean, I wrote the article on them winning that district final for the first time, and just having that gritty mindset from just growing up in Montague and stuff like that. And I think that goes back to your point of, it becomes an identity. Now at Montague, those kids are going to they're soccer players, right? Mm-hmm. They're just like it was for football. You're a football player, right? And that's been really nice, being able to watch Montague, especially because I grew up there. I played in that program for 2 years, and then seeing them kind of, see some success,
That always helps.
Yeah. So a question for you is, the JV program at Montague, when I was there, they had just been able to start it. For Whitehall, was that a slow growth, or did you guys have that?
So when I got here in 94, Montague was a powerhouse soccer-wise because of, like, this is old school names, Aaron Viles and a Ryerson. Geez, Pete, I just saw him this summer. I'll remember his name.
Does he own a fencing company?
One of the guys, but this is he's actually Dave Goodrich's nephew, and I'm gonna Weidenfeller.
Yeah.
They had a really good team, full JV, full varsity.
Yeah.
Just talent, just legit ability. Full whole JV program, which probably was in existence until the early 2000s.
Yep.
And I could be off on that, but I think I'm fairly close. When we got here, because of Art Plefka, and there was the Flayhives and the Ragers who had done all of the co-ed and all this, there were a lot of kids, and it was co-ed.
Yeah.
So we started out with a full JV. Yeah. And it's only been in the last few years, because of the lack of a rec team and a lack of a middle school program, that we struggled. We always had. I mean, we used to cut for JV.
Yeah.
Not because we can't have more than 25 kids on a JV. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we always had a JV program. That was, so what was the difference between Whitehall and Montague and Whitehall and all these schools? I'd have 18 kids every day being focused by 2 coaches or 3 coaches.
Yeah.
That on those other teams wouldn't have been on the team.
Yeah.
Because I had a full varsity too.
Yeah.
So the JV programs are the keys. And if you look at the programs in the area, the sustained programs, you look at the quality of a JV, that can be said in any sport. But for soccer in this area, especially, because you're getting more kids with experience.
Yeah. And that's what I was kind of going to is, over the years, I've seen a steady growth in Montague, and I think it starts with that JV program, right? Just getting kids there, being able to play on the JV, and then growing up through the program has been huge for them, being able to bring kids up. And I think that the teams in the area that have those JV programs tend to be the better performing teams overall, too, just because they have basically more mass and more kids to bring in that have the skills as well as, the mindset to be able to play and the athleticism as well.
And it helps your identity. So we had rules that parents didn't love, but every varsity kid watched every JV game.
Yeah.
Every JV kid watched we're leaving after this. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
If there's an extenuating circumstance, family dinner, et cetera. But other than that, you are supporting it, because when you stepped into what was the Whitehall soccer program, it was the Whitehall soccer team.
Yeah.
You might have put on a JV uniform, or you might have put on varsity. You were a Whitehall soccer player.
Yeah.
And I stress that a lot. And a lot of times, it's very popular. But there were parents who were like, oh, we have to watch a JV game, wait for my son. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Because he was on that team.
Yeah.
Now he's here. So we're going to support that group because you don't know who from there is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, Daniel Du Bois started out, played his freshman year on the JV and scored 69 goals in 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that team is like I've gone back to the second 10 and the JV. Those are the keys to everything.
Yeah.
You know, making sure that those kids are developed because that's your strength.
And I think that team mindset, I think you actually, the funny thing is I think you see it in like even Detroit sports now, like the last few years, which is funny. I think especially the last 2 or 3 years, you see that idea has developed itself in other areas as well. In like Detroit football is a great example of this, where you ask any of those players, I bet you, and they're all going to have that same thing. Like, we're here because this is our team, our mindset, right? And I think that's a great team mindset. That's the team. If I'm a coach, right, and I do coach a little bit, but if I'm a head coach, that's the mindset I want to instill. That every player on this team is here for this team, not for themselves, in a way.
At any level, at anything. I mean, that's like the Bad Boys, and then the Tigers and the Red Wings and all of the various successful groups that have gone through, they've had that identity.
Yeah.
And when the team buys into that. So Whitehall bought into my players bought into what my identity was.
Yeah.
And it was actually summarized. The Spring Lake was always an incredible battle. That was, for the longest time, our biggest rival. Because we would always meet them in district. It would lose by 1, 5-4, 3-2. That was our benchmark. And 7 years ago we were playing, and I think this was the year they finished. I think they went to the semis. We lost 4-5-1, something, doesn't matter. But the coach came up afterwards and he says, man, he goes, you guys, they just do the Whitehall thing. I went, what? What's a Whitehall thing? He goes, you don't know? I'm like, I don't know Whitehall thing. Like, I'm here. I don't see this. He goes, you guys never stop. He goes, for coaching against you, you've always had the most annoying team. And I went like, thank you. But he goes, because from the moment the whistle blew at the beginning until the end, you gave everything. Yeah. And of all the stuff that you hear about your teams, that is a compliment. When you talk about the identity was just, we didn't stop. Yeah. And I'm super intense. I know that's shocking.
Yeah. Real shocking.
And actually I'm way calmer than I used to be, which is even funnier. But the teams took on that identity. Yeah. This is why if you ever looked at a Whitehall bench, no one was ever sitting down.
No, and that's the thing that, like, growing up, and for some reason lately I've seen more and more not happening, is guys sitting on the bench, like sitting. Man, I see it and I'm like, stand up. Please.
We would always be lined up.
Yeah.
And when you came off the field, you sat down, you got a drink, then you stood up because I was like, okay, I don't care if you're on the field or off the field. Yeah. You're still playing. So you talk to the guys you see. Yeah. Cheer. And it was that. Like, we're ready to go. Yeah. Like, and now that I look at teams and I look at, people standing, people sitting, I'm like, well, and it's not, hey, if you sit, fine, whatever. But our identity was just that. Yeah. That, we're just going to go. We're not the fanciest. We aren't we aren't made up of a bunch of premier players that do no, we are going to go from start to finish.
Grit.
And you beat us, you beat us. Yeah. But if you give up, we're still going.
Yeah, we're gonna it's like Dan Campbell. Like, we're gonna take your kneecap off as we come back up.
Yeah. I don't know if I actually said that ever.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But I probably there was a time we scored 3 goals in like 37 seconds at Mason County Central. Ryan Ushak, incredible scorer, like unbelievably fast. we had scored and they went to kick off. And how we used to do it is it was a track like sprinting thing. Like the forwards would line up because the idea was to beat the ball back and take it. He stole the ball, went down, scored in like 11 seconds. They kicked off again. They did the exact same thing. He took the ball. There was someone in center. He passed it out. Someone crossed it in and he scored. And the goalie took off his gloves. This is the dumbest sport ever. And he's like, and he quit and left. And I'm like, I don't care ever. Like, we made a kid quit. We just won forever. Like,
Let's take another moment to thank our sponsor, Shoreline Restoration and Construction. Did a storm recently hit your business, home, or other building? Then Shoreline Restoration and Construction can help. They are a leader in remodels, new construction, and much, much more. They also restore water-damaged buildings, flooded basement, and so much more.
And their team was done. Like, mentally, they were.
Well, yeah.
And it was from our standpoint, funny.
Yeah.
But it was Shaq. He didn't think about, well, I can relax now. No.
He was going 3 more.
Yeah. And they kicked off again, and he almost got it again. Like, it was like, boom, boom, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lions, which I'm the ultimate antagonist. I've been teasing Lions fans forever because I'm a closet Bears fan and Steelers fan, but I have to be quiet because I'm in a Packers family. So I just don't ever say anything. But I love the mentality.
You might want to watch yourself.
I'm aware of that.
You're not only are you in the situation you're in with the Packers Bears thing, but you're also in a conference right now that is like,
oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
like cool. All the stats where all 4 of the teams would make the playoffs right now. It's awesome because in the 80s the Packers and the Lions were just punching bags.
Yeah.
When I first started watching. So you watched in the 70s, you either picked you were either Steelers or a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Okay. Then in the 80s, you were like, okay, am I going with the Bears now, or do I have to go with the Dallas again? Like, no, I'm just not. So that's where and Detroit had nothing. So I was like, I don't need to watch that. My dad loved them, and I was like, so yes, I will tease people, but now I just have to I'm impressed. That coach has done with that group what I always wanted and was successful at times. Just have a group of people that just
buy in.
They buy in. So I would get the most mad at games where we should have been killing a team and we were up by 1.
Yeah.
And I would be the most calm against teams that were either as good as us, better than us, whatever. But if we were playing hard and well, I was fine. Like, I don't care. We're doing a great job. We're doing a phenomenal job. You guys you're doing everything we're supposed to do. They're just either ahead or they're better than we are.
Yeah.
But if it was something where we should have had the pedal down and just blowing people out, I was furious.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are slacking off. You're
I get
playing
it.
to the level of the
100%.
team.
I totally get it.
You're playing the team, not the game.
Yeah.
So stop it.
Yeah. So let's kind of fast forward now. I talked a lot about soccer. Okay. What have you been doing in, retirement?
Well, I started the still coaching thing, but I'm coaching coaches.
Yeah.
And then I'll go run practices. Like if you're a coach, you want me to come run, I'll run. I'm like, just do this. I have whole systems for youth programs. I'm enjoying that in and amongst it. The last year, so I technically retired last September 1st. My wife and I traveled a ton. Mm-hmm. Like we were.
Where'd you guys go?
Drummond Island, Beaver Island, Maine, St. Martin, Aruba, Washington, D.C., Key West.
The entire continental U.S.
We hit, we're checking off stuff. We're like, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here. We are going to travel. My wife is visually impaired.
Yeah. And
she has a genetic disease where her vision is going. So we are going to do as much as we can. Yeah. And we're going to take advantage of that. Yeah. And this whole, as you're getting older, you're seeing people that we just had a soccer player graduated last year. His father just passed away. My age. Whoa. One of the original families for soccer.
Yeah.
The Achterhoff family. Now the Jimenez, and it's you just don't know. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And so we're going to make sure we take advantage of this.
Yeah.
We leave actually next Wednesday, hopefully for Florida, where the hurricane was. But we'll have to see. This was planned before Milton and Helene decided to redecorate Florida.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that. Our daughter she's a senior at Hope now. She was in DC for a semester. So we went out there, and I'd never been to DC. So we spent a week.
I went there I want to say when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And it was sweet. I remember we walked. My dad goes, "We're going to go see Arlington today." And
you walked to Arlington?
Yeah.
From Pete.
From like the middle of this, it took us it was like an hour and a half long walk. It was like 11 miles or something like that. And
Did you watch the game Monday, the Monday night game, where they were showing pictures, looking down from the Washington Memorial to the link? I was like, that doesn't look very far. That's a long way.
No, we walked everywhere in DC because this was kind of like before Uber was huge, and like we're like when you're not from a big city, it's like using Uber is like foreign, and so we didn't ever use it. And I had one of my friends with me, Kevin Yeager, who actually played on Montague's team with me. And we went, I remember we walked, our hotel was probably like a mile away from the Washington Memorial. And we walked like from the Washington Memorial over to the Lincoln Memorial. Like we walked all the way around. Like we walked to...
Did you walk to Jefferson and the whole...
Yeah,
oh
we did.
Gosh.
We walked, I want to say we walked like a total of like 50 miles in like a week.
It is.
I was so dead.
For me, visiting Washington, of all the places, the beauty of St. Martin and Aruba and Maine is just incredible, and Key West is so fun. The weight of DC, I was not prepared for. I was not prepared to be looking at the Lincoln Memorial and looking at the Gettysburg Address and feeling, wow, Jefferson, seeing the White House, just it's like, holy smokes. I've been reading about these and seeing them in movies for that's where the helicopter went down in this movie and blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And reading all the words that are inscribed by all these patriots, and I'm not going to get political, but all I'm going to say is if everybody just went and experienced that, they might rethink how they're looking at everything.
Yeah.
Like it's not a me and you. It's not an us versus them. It's we're all together on this. We might want to work that way.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, so we're doing a ton of that.
Yeah.
Your good old, doing stuff around the house.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out a not coaching life, which is the players would always laugh. They would see I'd be up on the hill in a car. I don't go down into the stands a lot.
If you go down to the stands, like you're going to have to talk to somebody. Right?
Well, and I also don't want to be, and I call it the ghost of Mahan.
Yeah.
And I want who's ever in charge to be there, like after this group of seniors is gone, there will be seniors next year. A few of them had me, but not really long enough for them to have my team identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't want to bother that. I want them to be able to
create their own identity.
Right. So I watch from the hill.
Yeah.
And he, Adam would, hey, what'd you think? Because all the kids knew. Because I would still text. I'm like, good luck tonight. I wasn't, just like, that's all I would say. Good luck. Hey, great game. Saw this. Fantastic. Blah, 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 blah. So I would do that. But last year I watched a lot more than this year. It's just simply because I'm trying to, I still realize that even though I'm on the hill, every kid knew I was on the hill.
Yeah. You got to change your hill.
Well, it's in Whitehall. There's only you're up on top. I need a not visible car, and I own some very familiar cars. Like I'm parked up there. Everyone knows. Oh, there's the Suburban. There's this antique car, whatever he's driving.
You gotta get like a moped.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. And then I would walk, and I would just see that, and then one of the players said, "Yeah, we saw you pacing back and forth up there." I'm like, "Come on, I just want to watch. Just kind of see it."
You got to get like a Spy RC car that you can drive.
Like the alumni game, I have a blast because everybody do you
play in the alumni game?
Oh God, no! I stopped that. So I've had 6 knee surgeries.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I should have stopped playing. I used to practice every drill. I was in the drill, doing the drills up until the mid 2000s. And then after my, I don't know, 4th or 5th knee surgery, Dr. Palani goes, you need a different hobby. You need to stop moving like that.
That's one of my biggest fears is like not just getting hurt so bad that I can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? Like that I'm relegated to only golf. Like, not that that's a bad thing.
My roommate, the longest at Hope, started off 4 years as a forward. He got his first injury at 53, tore his Achilles tendon, but he's already back playing indoor.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. He's still going strong. I mean, just
for me, it's always like during the, it's changed a little bit with the the change over into doing the more of the SportsNet stuff because I was doing tech support for our technology side before this, but the change before this I was doing like I would go on a Monday night or in a week Sunday night or Sunday morning I'm playing basketball at the middle school at Montague from 11 to 1. And then that night I'm either playing basketball or I'm going to go play soccer out at Township or at the VAC or something like that. And then on Monday I'm going and playing basketball again at 6 at night. And then throughout the week I'm playing probably 2 or 3 times a week just to stay in shape and stuff.
Yeah, but do it while you can.
Yeah.
Before I moved here in Kalamazoo, I played on 3 different teams.
Yeah.
And then I moved up here and I realized like there's no place to play. This was bizarre. But it
always terrified me that I'm
the
gonna
injury
get hurt.
now. Let's see, at my age, your success is not whether you win or lose, but if you can leave the pickleball court without being injured.
You're a pickleball guy now.
No. Every doctor, physical therapist, and boss that I have, Jill, I'm not allowed to because I'm so competitive. Like I have no control over the switch. It's just the minute I'm like, oh, this is on. Okay, so you're my niece and nephew. We're playing pickleball. I'm going to hit a top hand right at you because I know, and I don't. It's not like the filter goes, you shouldn't do this. It's like, this is what we're going. So I play golf.
Yeah.
Do a lot of yoga.
Yeah.
And walk. And other than that, I am not mature enough to be allowed to compete in sports without someone telling me to relax all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. It's bad.
I coached Shelby golf for a year when I first graduated. And I remember Bishop Lee, who was on that team, was talking a ton of trash one day right before practice. And I knew what we were doing for practice that day. We were going to play 9 holes. And I'm like, just because you talk trash, I'm going to play with you. And I'm going to show you up because you got to know that, like, you can't be doing that out here. You can't be. Just because I don't have that filter either that tells you to shut it off because you can't just shut it off, right? Like, it just doesn't happen. Like especially like for me at least, like the other night on Monday night I was playing basketball and there's this guy that I'm really good friends with that we play basketball every Monday night and he was talking trash and he was playing well and I switched into competitive mode. I wasn't playing very good, which may have hurt or helped my team. I then wanted to take every shot because I had to prove a point. But yeah,
when I used to practice, a lot of it. At the beginning, it was because I would need to show them how to do it.
Yeah.
Because this is the correct way.
Yeah.
You do it like this. And that was like you talked about at the beginning. I did a lot of that. But then as the teams got better, then I could be okay. I can go play. Then when I got to the point where I was like broken, I would jump into a drill, do it, and you know that I'm as good as I once was. As good once. Okay, It seemed like I could jump in and do it like perfect. Once, and then I would go sit down because I knew once the muscle memory is gone, everything's going to fall apart and it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I didn't play as much later. Probably after like 11, I didn't even jump into drills anymore because it hurt. I could like not walk for 2 days afterwards. And that was hard because I loved doing some of the drills. But then I would get super intense.
Yeah.
And then they would come up. But I was also your greatest strength as a player is your greatest weakness as a coach.
Yeah. And
I, for years, didn't understand how to fire somebody up. I had no idea. Yeah. Like, why do you need? It's a game. You don't need to be fired up. Just go 100 miles an hour. Well, we need to be motivated. Like, are you serious? had to learn that.
Yeah.
And that took a lot, watching a lot of other coaches, listening, reading book. I'm like, oh, it's not just innate on everyone. Some people are probably in the psychological world considered normal and don't just want to win all the time.
That's exactly.
So I need to figure out how to get everyone on the same page in a healthy way, as opposed to me just just wanting them to beat me, blah, blah, blah. When you coach girls, you coach a family. When you coach guys, you coach a collective ego.
Yeah.
So, and you have to approach it.
Quick break from the action to thank our sponsor. Meraki Performance is a leader in performance coaching. Whether you're looking to motivate your business or your athletic team, Meraki Performance can help. Check them out at merakiperform.com. Yeah, and that's something that I coached girls basketball for White Lake Youth Sports like 4 or 5 years ago. And coaching girls versus coaching guys is two totally different things. Like wildly different.
That's why the people that do it well write books about how to the UConn women's coach for soccer was Anson Mount at North Carolina. They wrote books on how you approach that. Like the girls program, I coached really well the first 8 or 9 years. The last 2 years, it was bad. When I got out, I'm like, I should have gotten out early, because I think I was like taking it personally that we weren't good. And then I was taking it out on them.
Yeah.
Like I still had good teams, like the team concept, but I didn't do it well.
Yeah.
And it was me. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
And I realized that when I got out, I'm like, yeah, that was, and it's always your coach, you're your worst critic. Like, here are my mistakes I made. And those were 2. I was like, I should have been doing this better. I should have been developing that family thing better. But something happened and I wasn't. And it's I mean, I'm not coming up with any excuses for it. I just know I wasn't good at creating the team with the girls team the last couple of years.
And that's the 2 things that you said in your 2 responses there were exactly the same. I struggle with, like, when I coach, I don't think I struggle with it as much anymore. I think I figured it out pretty solidly with the getting people motivated.
Well, that's going to change with each group that comes in. You think you have it figured out, and then you don't.
That's true. But with girls, I really struggled to keep them motivated. I could get them going for maybe a practice or maybe like, a half or maybe a quarter, but to get them for that full season was so tough. Like I constantly had to change tactics. Like, how do you get them to go? How do you get them? Then you also have to, like, sometimes with some of the girls that we coached, they were prone to, if you yelled at them, they would cry. And then for me,
because you singled them out.
And for me, I'm like, I didn't mean to, like, and I go into panic mode because I'm like, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
I started out, my first varsity program was a girls varsity program, and of the 11 starters, 10 of them played Division 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And they were super competitive. So it was an easy mix for me.
Yeah.
And I was young and didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I was barely older than what they were. And it worked really well. And at the beginning at Whitehall, I had come off coaching volleyball, where I knew nothing about. I could play on the beach. I didn't know anything about indoors. And they needed a coach 2 weeks before the season started. So Ted Edsel taught me everything. So I didn't have any preconceived notions myself. So it was easy for me to drop the ego and be a team coach.
Yeah.
The soccer, because it started that way, was easy. And I don't know what shifted. I can't even tell you if this is exactly it. I just know I was not happy with my last couple of years because of the obvious, like, you didn't develop the team concept and the family concept well. You did it badly, and it's on you, not them, because they were a great group of people.
Yeah.
And they were just fantastic girls on the team. And it, you look at some of the guys' teams where it didn't work. I feel the same way, but those you can kind of look at more individuals that caused the disruption there with guys.
Yeah.
When it's a girls team, it's that directional. Like, did you provide the right direction? Did you get them looking in that same direction?
Yeah.
It's easier with guys because once 5 or 6 of them, then they're just like, why aren't you doing this? You're an idiot. Go.
Yeah.
And then the guys take care of it. You just step back and go, okay, this is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you look back. I mean, it was a large catalog of games coached. Yeah. My son is the historian. He can tell me scores on like everything, and I can come close.
Yeah.
But I could tell you how much fun we had on bus rides and singing. We always sang on the way home. There was, from at least one away game every year, there was the 99 bottles of beer on the wall, the entire song. And the last 10, it was up, and, the bus drivers would love it. They would sing the good old summer camp songs.
Yeah.
This Seth Benson, who played defender for us, he was a hockey player from here, but he sounded like he was from Canada. No way, he always talk.
Yeah.
He led us in camp songs, and those bus rides home is some of the just absolutely hilarious stuff. That is the most important parts. Trophies are cool.
Yeah.
They really are. But when we're sitting around at the alumni games, it's always, hey, do you remember when Pat Nolte, the now owner of Hanson Hill, wiped you out the first day of practice? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten about that. Like, he was this tenacious defender. Like, he wouldn't see you. He would see a ball.
Yeah.
And he was going to get the ball. If you happened to be between him and that ball, it wasn't going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And he wiped me out on the first day. Like, just shredded me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Like, and that's what we talk about at the alumni games is, oh, do you remember when we did this drill and we did this and this happened and this happened? Very seldom it is. And it'll still be, I remember when we beat that team. But those are like the rest of the seasons.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Oh, that was when we had to push the bus out up at Mason County because the bus driver backed into a sand dune and couldn't get, so the team had to push the bus out. And then there was a district final game where the ambulance, again, Ryan Ushak, who I mentioned, got a concussion. The ambulance drove on the field. It had been pouring for like a day. The ambulance got stuck. So our team had to push the ambulance across the field to get it off the field. I have all the pictures for it. It's just.
Yeah, when I think back, like something notable that happened when I was in school was my sophomore year. My cross country team went to the state finals, which as a team had never been done in Montague's, however many years of cross country that they've been doing. And I don't remember necessarily every single meet. I remember the first meet I came back from playing soccer my sophomore year, and it was sleeting at University Park in Muskegon. And I lost a spike in the mud and ran. Is
it ever nice at that course when you run?
No. I don't
every time my daughter ran, it was horrible. The weather, I'm just like, seriously, is the sun in 60s too hard to ask here?
So it was like 40 degrees. Yeah. And it was sleeting. And that first part, you come down, you start off, you go around the tree on the left.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you go down and you go around and you kind of go down and then you go down the fairway.
Yes, that one that dips and comes up.
Comes up. And it always gets muddy, but then you come back around that first loop and you go down the hill and you go right through the middle of that fairway before you go across and back up the other side of the hill. When I came down my first loop, it had just been destroyed right there. And it was super muddy. It had been sleeting all day, and my spike just went like suction cupped into it, and my foot just went right out of it. And so I've got my one sock on, and like I'm like, well, we're doing this. I ain't stopping.
You're just gonna go.
Yeah. So it gets sucked off, and like it wasn't like I got my foot stuck and had to yank it out. It was like I just stepped and then like pulled my foot out, and it was just one fluid motion. Didn't like impede me at all. I go up the hill. I'm like one foot like hopping up the hill because it's soaking wet and the fairway's just super slick, so you can't get any traction. And then I ran a PR, and we talked about it for like ages. And then that year, and we ended up winning GMAA because.
Well, that's cool.
And
congratulations.
It was just crazy. And we talk about it all the time. Like I still see those guys and my cousin was on that team. He lives with me now, and like Cole Jensen was one of those guys that was on the team, or he was on the team before, but he was helping out coach that year. And Adam Wolfus and those guys, we all still meet up and do stuff. The team memories are the stuff I remember from high school, like going back to the alumni games for soccer or well, I think we're gonna do one for basketball this year. Yeah. Going back and talking about the bus rides,
a play, a shot, things like that. Scores,
yeah.
You know, like the human highlight reels that you have. Eric Plefka, was still the best player we ever had, graduated in 2000. He was a human highlight reel.
Yeah.
Du Bois, the Fergusons, the Grimms, Nolan Grieve, Joshua Gonzalez, Chris Saunders. These guys, we can just look back and be like, oh, first off, a lot of them are just crazy. Saunders was one of the funniest humans on the planet. And he would do crazy stuff, but then he'd get in a game and he would do that, but with a ball. You know, like, I don't even know how he did that. I don't know what that is. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you did? He's like, yeah. And he just laughed. Or like, and he goes like, no, I don't have an idea. Like,
yeah.
Okay. So no, that's the cool part.
Yeah.
And we had of the majority of the time at the end of the season, we do something called the last practice. We did something.
Yeah.
And this actually came out of my first really successful girls team. We lost in the state semifinals in double overtime. The only reason why I know this is because it's double overtime. But the girls didn't want the season to end. So like, can we come to practice tomorrow? I'm like, what? Like, we lost. Well, we want to come to practice. We want to be together. I'm like, cool. So we did like 4 practices after the season because they just enjoyed each other so much.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, this is the last one. And we play. I'm like, you guys are picking all the games. Picked all the games. So from then on, at the end of every season, because in soccer, you're always going to end on a loss.
Yeah.
Oh, you could be state champion. Yeah. Is the last name of your school Christian or Catholic? Because unless that, you're just not going to be a state champion in Division 3 and 4. We come back and the guys pick the games. And it's just, everybody plays. It's just fun because then your last memory with your team is not the bus ride home, the sitting down and realizing this is the last time I'm playing with the seniors. And I get mildly emotional at the end, and I don't get emotional a lot, but I would, that's not it. It's the laughing. It's the teasing. We would play for an hour and a half. And for all the years I did this, there were very few kids who didn't show up for this because it's just supposed to be fun. Yeah. Everybody that bought in was there.
Yeah.
And so I would say 99%.
Yeah.
Came back and we would do the last practice. Like the guys would be like, so when's the last practice, coach? I'm like, okay, well, let's give ourselves a couple days. And and they'd keep talking, when is the last practice? And then we do mock elections. And then I'd write up these really funny, sarcastic, making fun of kids.
Yeah.
But then also like, who's the most likely to, the hero award and the big, so we'd have this nice mix of, whatever they are. And we do that at they'd vote for it at the last practice. So that family thing, you end smiling and laughing. And so that your last memory, no matter what, when you go back, do you remember? Yeah. Last practice, the last practice.
Well, you've officially set a record.
No, I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
No, you're good. This is peak. We need this. We need more of this.
Oh.
You beat Rick Zulik so far. He was 1 hour, 18 minutes. And
sorry.
No, don't apologize. I got so many clips that are gonna come out of this. You're gonna be all over TikTok. I hope you know that.
Well, there's the other part of you're in a school system for 29 years, and then you're not, and and people want to ask about Whitehall soccer. I'm incredibly proud of what all of those players accomplished and who we became, and and so I really just like I've told you, I've told your dad, I appreciate what CatchMark does for the community, for promoting community. From I was at the chamber dinner last week to this, to all of the stuff you guys are doing. It's just about showing off all the great stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
And like they asked, would you do that? I'm like, heck yes. Like I've watched when you had, I think it was a few years ago, you had that, like the football recap. They got on every week and they talked about all the games and stuff. That stuff was great.
Yeah.
I mean, soccer would be weird. Like it'd be hard to do, but it bringing, because there's always going to be a few people that are going to be like, oh yeah, did you watch that? Did you hear what they said?
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate you coming on. It was a great.
Sorry to take up so much of your day.
No, you're good. I scheduled 2 hours for each one of these. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good deal.
You hour and 24 minutes approximately. I appreciate you coming on though. You'll definitely be seeing this clips out of this. If you got TikTok, I'll send them to you.
I'll have to fish. I have TikTok, but it's only to watch various videos that my kids send me. Like, you need to watch this. I'm like, oh, okay.
So either way, I appreciate you coming on. This was episode number 12 of the Benchwarmers Perspective with Brian Mahan. And that'll be it.
Thank you.